Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Marie and myself, Jocelyn, and Your Health, Your Future, Your Choice. Exploring wellness from within, from all angles. That's looking from the top down, from the outside in, from the inside out. And today's show is reading between the lines. Thank you for coming back, Miss Marie.
Thank you.
I have a feeling this is going to be one heck of a show. And but first, how about you do a little bit of recapping of comments that people have very kindly been relaying back to you about the shows and what's going on.
Yeah. So the first comment I got was somebody told me it made them realize how much they already knew about their health but never spoke up. That they didn't feel that they knew that the doctor knew them better or the practitioner knew them better, but they couldn't go that different level inside themselves. So now they're taking more control and understanding that it's okay to push that I do know that this bothers me, and I do know what I did didn't work, and I do know the supplement you gave me doesn't make me feel good, or I do know that the medicine doesn't make me feel right. But they just didn't have the power inside to feel like they could take that next step and speak up.
That is fabulous.
So that's very cool because people don't realize that you get to choose. And they just become puppets to whatever's happening around them because they don't have the medical degree. How would they know?
Well, you do know because
it's your body.
It's your body, and that knowledge is inside of you, in your DNA.
Yeah.
And within every little cell of your body. So you do have the degree. It's that being able to listen, to identify, hear that voice that goes, no, 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 no.
Right.
That orange juice gives you an acid stomach.
Right. You know, and it all goes back to when we're kids and mom says, oh, you're fine. Oh, you're fine. Well, I know I got a stomachache. Oh, you're fine. So it starts really young. So you don't know why somebody does that or doesn't do that because it goes way back. Yeah. But you just have a pattern, and it just made them break the pattern. So that was very cool.
That is really cool. Yeah. And to be brave enough, because it is bravery, to ask a question. So kudos to them.
Because you're not supposed to question. They know what they're talking about. Well, that's not your MO, but
nope.
Okay, out of the fear-based medicine show, someone told me they never considered fear being part of the decisions they're making, but now that they're thinking of it from that perspective, they're starting to understand that they do fear things, so they shut down versus discuss it with themselves or someone else and try to figure out how to go to the next step. That they never thought of fear as a thing when they shut a conversation down, that they didn't want to go there.
Which is, I think, human and normal.
Right.
What
they think
goes
his
on
fear
after
is, oh my
that?
God, it's a spider. It scares me. It's not, right. Not that you don't want to emotionally go somewhere.
Correct.
Yeah.
Wow. That's huge. That is
like I said, it's been kind of
really
cool to hear the
big.
feedback. Yeah, it's been really cool. And the last one is from the Right or Wrong show. They're starting to notice themselves the minute people say something that they're jumping down their throats because they have to make it what they want, because they have to be right in the conversation. And I start laughing and I go, oh, you're one of those, right? Because you're like,
which is kind of like having the last word. They've got to make it their way.
Because they want to be right. Mm-hmm. And they just jump up and start defending it or insisting that you like it their way, or you buy what they're buying, or you eat what they're eating, or you do the diet they're doing. And there was a couple of clients that came to me and said, you know, I never really thought of it, but I'm one of those people.
Well, I have, from the shows that we've been doing, found myself taking a step back and just listening for another minute or two. If it doesn't sit well with me, in the past I would have not quite have been that aggressive or that loud about it, but I would have been like, well, I think blah, 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 blah. And I find myself removing myself from the conversation.
You become the observer, and you start to realize how much they're fighting their fight because they have to convince themselves as well that there's really no right in anything. It's only what's right for you. But we believe there's this ultimate right. And people say it to me all the time. They say. I'm like, well, who's the
Who
they? Who's the they? And that comes up all the time because people believe there's a they that's governing all our choices. But we get so caught in what we're going to talk about, reading between the lines, that there's all kinds of people governing our choices and we don't even know it.
Correct.
And we're falling prey to it all the time versus sitting quiet with ourselves and realizing what's really right for us.
So instead of being afraid of the spider, maybe you need to be afraid of the spider's web.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
Wow, I'm super excited that people are commenting back. That's the interaction that we want. That's the interaction we need to help each other take that next step forward and be comfortable doing it.
Yes. So reading between the lines for me is an example because a lot of times I have clients come in all day long and they tell me what they've read. And then my stomach gets in knots. Really? Did that happen? Oh my goodness. I didn't know that happened. So then I go later and I'm like, no, they just read the headlines. They didn't read the article. The article says something completely different than what the headlines say.
Absolutely.
But they're walking around having a bad day because they read the headlines and they bought in hook, line, and sinker. So here's some statistics I came up with. The average human attention span is 8.2 seconds. 4.25 seconds less than in the year 2000. And what sparked my curiosity for that is when I published my book, I went to a publishing conference and they said at one point it was like 3 chapters before somebody threw it down and couldn't get into it. Then it was 2, then it was 1. Now it's like the first 2 paragraphs. If you can't catch somebody, you're done. They're not going to read your book.
That's ridiculous.
Oh, it's crazy. So then I had somebody doing some website stuff for me. And I put some stuff on there. They said, you have to realize 3.2 seconds is all people say stay on the website. So if you can't catch them in 3.2 seconds on your page, they're gone. They're gone. So then we did our back pain show. And I did this whole section on back pain and all the different modalities I know that could help you with your back. And then I wrote out what they were, how they could help, how you would find a practitioner and everything else. So I did my market survey. Too much information. Nobody's going to read all that. You're giving them too much information. Nobody's going to read all of that. And I'm like, well, then how are you going to know how to pick a practitioner if they're not going to read that? So I had one guy going, this is way too much information. And he's talking to me on the phone as he's telling me that. And he goes, wait a minute, I didn't know I could use that on my back. Really? That works like that? And he's going down and I'm laughing the whole time. And he's like, what's so funny? I go,
you're telling me there's too much information, but yet you can't stop yourself.
Right, because he actually sucked in and started reading it. So that's the point. So, all right.
Well, what just came to mind, and we were talking before the show of these thoughts and gut reactions that have been coming back to me. So when you said that, it occurred to me that sometimes, and maybe the show is verbalizing and they're hearing the words instead of just sitting there reading them. Well, you have. Have you ever written a book? Yes, you have. Duh. And you go to proofread your book and you miss the spelling mistakes because even the typing becomes familiar to you and you need someone else to look at it and go, no, that needs a comma there, Marie, or nope, that's spelled wrong, Marie. And you're like, where? I'm thinking that between the clients and the reading the book and then us talking about it and verbalizing these words, people are making more connections and more understanding of the one thing. They didn't hear it this way or they didn't see it that way. They're being exposed in more ways to hear and feel what's within them.
Right.
Wow.
All right, so you're going to love this.
Okay.
The average human attention span decreased by nearly 25% between 2000 and 2015. And now we're lagging behind the goldfish of 9 seconds. Remember the joke about the goldfish going around the bowl going, oh, yeah. Here I am, here I am, here I am. That's where we are in terms of our ability to focus and take on objects. And the funny part, which made me do this, because I did it to myself. So I have hardwood floors. And I go in the store and I buy the refresher and I clean my floors and I buy clean my floors. Well, apparently the refresher is a wax, not a refresher.
Oh.
So when I dog sat my daughter's dog, his paw prints got etched in my floor forever and I couldn't get them out. So now they're telling me I have to strip my whole floor because, so now I call the company that owns the floors and they said, what did you use? That is not a cleaner. that as a refresher. I go, well, I refreshed my floors.
Yeah, isn't that the same thing?
And she said, well, did you read the back? So I had to buy stripper, and my husband and I had to get down on our hands and knees and fix the floors because we put this whole coating on there over and over and over again. And then the oil from the dog's paws became permanent fixtures in our new floors. But I'm equally as guilty as everyone else. So think about that from a health perspective, not a floor perspective. Right? What are we reading quickly and not reading the fine print?
Correct.
So that brings me on to one of the big things in the news right now, Ozempic and all those, right?
Yep.
And the side effects of that stuff is horrific. But if you listen to the commercial, it says it's good for your heart in diabetics, not in people that are healthy.
Correct.
There's stuff on TikTok to show you how to mitigate the side effects. Yeah. There's all these articles on how to mitigate the side effects so you can take this drug to lose weight even though you're not a diabetic and screw up your whole system. Because we're not reading between the lines. We're just reading that someone lost weight on it.
Yep.
We want to lose
Well, we're
weight.
also watching all those people dancing in those really cool costumes with the really good music. And so it must be good. And boy, we're being dragged in hook, line, and sinker. And we're not reading between the lines. We're simply accepting.
And where our brains are in overdrive. An average office worker will check their email box 11 times an hour.
What?
The average person picks up their phone more than 1,500 times a week, every 5 minutes.
Good Lord. Oh, my goodness.
Most people at most read 28% of the words in front of them, but more likely to be 20%. The phone takes up an average of 3 hours and 16 minutes of someone's day.
That I'd believe.
That's a lot of self-care time missing. Yeah.
That's a lot of no downtime.
The average page visit on a website lasts less than a minute. And typically 10 to 20 seconds is, And now it's down to 3 seconds, even more so from a marketing perspective.
Oh.
Yeah.
So all these people with all these websites, money that they've spent, time and energy and sweat
if you put too much on the
those,
front page, what is it that's going to grab somebody in 3 seconds or less?
I don't know. Everybody's different.
It's got to be a shock factor.
So like that headline.
It's got to be a shock factor. Yes. And people keep telling me that it's too much information. But if you don't read the information, you can't help yourself.
Correct. So a shock headline isn't going to do it.
And you don't know what you're getting involved in for your health and wellness. So you have to read between the lines. You have to start taking the time to process what it is you're doing. Why are you on that diet? Because your friends are doing it? Did you read all the side effects, the drug that you're on, the supplements that you're on? You know, I went to this place this weekend, and it was an apothecary. And I'm not opposed to anything. And they had this dandelion stuff, and I love dandelion tea, and I drink the coffee version of it because it tastes like coffee. And I asked her, what do I do, brew this? Or, oh, we have a brew blend over here. And I'm like, so what's in it? And there was like 9 herbs in it. And I said, I can't.
But I only want dandelion.
Yeah. No, this is a really good blend. I go, no, I'm not going to do 9 herbs at once. I love dandelion. I grow my own dandelion. I will drink dandelion. Well, let me give you some literature so you know what these herbs do. But they're fine all together. Who says they're all fine together? But they're so into their thing that they know they're fine all together. But they're not. They're not.
And just like healing frequencies and healing lights, more is not better.
No. So the goal is, in all of this, how do we go inward so we're not caught in all of this? Again, if you sit quiet, ask to see what you need to see, start learning some ways to work with your body's energy. You can do it through yoga. You can do it through some of my stuff. You can do it through meditation. However you want to go inward and start connecting to your body within. Because what will happen is when you pick up that phone, you're going to have that sinking feeling in your gut. And you're going to realize, okay, my kids are sitting in front of me. I need to put that back down.
Correct.
Or my spouse is in front of me. I need to put that back down. Or I'm at work. I don't really need this. What is so important? I'm driving in the car. I don't need to do that.
Yes.
Right. Because what is it so critical? And it could be an article. You're reading an article. That little bell and whistle will go off in your gut. And you'll start to say, well, why did I just read the headlines? Like I said, I live in headlines all day long. And I go home at night going, I don't want to know that's happening. I can't believe that could be happening.
And 9 times out of 10, it's not
None
what
of it's real.
Well, there's
None
the
of it's
shock
real.
headline that
Yeah,
you were
none
talking
of it's
about.
real.
Yep.
And these people are buying into it, and they're quoting it as they're going out, and it's like telephone. They're just spreading it, and it's getting worse each time. And they're giving everybody bad days who don't read between the lines.
So it seems to me that we need to be more comfortable with being quiet. We need to be more comfortable with saying, I don't actually have to go to that meeting, or I don't actually have to do the grocery shopping right now, or whatever it may be, that we can say, I want a time out. I want to sit on the porch and listen to the peepers or the crickets or whatever, or I just want to sit here for 15 minutes and close my eyes. And we need to be okay with that. And other people need to be okay with us doing that. Yet in society now, it's go, 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 go.
Well, that's a choice. That's a choice. And you're falling into the energy flow. I went to New York City one time, and I'm about as low key as they come. So New York City's a lot for me. And I spent a couple days just walking the streets. By the end of it, I was running across those streets like everyone else. My husband picks me up in Boston and he's going, where are you going? Because I was in the energy and I was going, and it was not my MO at all. But that's what we do. We go in the energy waves, and we get caught because we're not controlling our own energy. We're just letting it flow with everyone else's. So we're picking up everyone else's messages, and we're doing what they're doing. We're not doing what we're doing. So when people tell you to be present and all that spirituality stuff about the present moment and chewing your food and everything else, it has to do with actually being present and seeing what's going on to make that decision to get you to the next step in your life. That's all it is. So if you're not present, you're going to send yourself
down. You're going
down
along with the energy. I gotcha.
Yeah, and you're going down someone else's path.
Yep.
I call it the wave. Mm-hmm. Are you in the wave today? Are you in the cell phone wave today? Are you in the, you're with your friends, everybody's in the wave, you're all going down the river in the same boat, and you all decide to whitewater raft, even though you can't swim, you're jumping in that boat anyway. And we just get in that wave and we go. Once you start manipulating your own energy and really knowing what you feel like, you'll know when that wave hits.
And so someone once said to me, because I have found myself withdrawing from the wave, mm-hmm. big time, for identifying, breaking out of the box, whatever that terminology is, that, there's all sorts of different phrases, and saying, but for instance, like you're saying, going out to dinner but do I like steak? But everybody else is eating it. So, and they say it's wonderful, but do I really like steak? Do I really want steak, or do I want that chicken salad? Am I brave enough to listen to myself? Am I also brave enough to say, resist mm-hmm. that temptation, that wave? And I think it's something we've forgotten how to do. And we really need to not be afraid to step back and, like you said, look at that. Do we want to go with the wave, or are we going to sit with this and say, I'm going to do this way, and then be able to see the path forward instead of being dragged through the pucker brush?
Right.
I'm an illustrator, sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay. It's really difficult for a lot of us to just do our own thing, mm-hmm. because then you feel like you're not part of life. But you have to remember, my husband's a food buyer.
Oh, okay.
So I get a little inside sometimes about what Pepsi's doing or what Coke's doing. And you look at how cigarette smoking came out, and it was all advertised, and then it became the thing and everybody did it. And then Coca-Cola was the same thing. Then you didn't see ads forever. Mm-hmm. You're seeing a lot of ads now.
We are.
Because they're starting to go under, because nobody's drinking them. So they're riding that wave again to bring people back in.
But not... Well, we won't go into why not, but yeah, that's exactly what they're doing.
It doesn't matter what they're doing; they're businesses.
Right.
What matters is what do you want for you, yep. and are you allowing someone else to take away your power because you're too tired, you're unfocused, you're out in chaos, and you're in that C-store, and it gravitates toward you. So if you're not being present, you're just following the wave. There are always going to be Coca-Cola companies. There's always going to be cigarette companies. There's always going to be everything. So you can't blame anybody for anything because they're just businesses.
Correct. What you have to do is stand strong, stand tall.
Just be you.
And be right.
You just have to find out who you are and live your truth, not the truth of others.
Right.
And right now, as you can see what's happening in life right now, everybody's on someone else's wave.
Yeah. And they're actually jumping from wave to wave, so they're kind of like surfing.
because they're not sure.
Yeah.
Nobody's sure what is totally right for them. There are some people, I know some people that are pretty etched in who they are, but a lot of people are just mixing it up because they're trying to figure it out, which is great. But that's where you have to sit quiet more and realize what is your truth.
So at any point, is that withdrawing? Is that ignoring? Is that avoidance?
Well, it all depends
I know what
on
the
how
answer
you
it is.
define life.
Right.
What do you define life by?
I think a lot of people feel that if they're not participating, which is really not participating, it's riding that wave, it's going right in with it, they call it participation. And so if they remove themselves from it, i.e. the moms all going to the football practice and all the, everybody goes to this and everybody goes to that sport, and they're not willing to say, we all need a time off, we need a family day, we need a sit-down meal. Because no, you can't do that. But if you step back, you're accused of being avoiding, of ignoring, of not being with the group. And I think that's been a mantra and sort of a something that they beat us over the heads with, and we have to be willing to not listen to that as well.
You could still be part of a group. I'm not saying you shouldn't.
No, I understand.
Yeah, but you can do your own thing in the group too. You don't have to follow.
Right.
If you don't eat pizza, don't eat pizza when everybody's eating pizza just because you have to do it because the group does it.
Correct.
Yeah. You
I
just
like
got to
that.
kind of do your thing. Even I'm not saying you should never be in social situations. That's crazy. You just can't allow yourself to be taken over by them and let them define who you are. That's all.
Yeah.
Because that's what's happening in the health and wellness industry. It's not the individual program, it's the program for the masses.
Correct. What's good for one is good for all.
But it's not.
And one size fits all. That's where all those phrases come from, and we need to push them away.
Right. So the more you become present, again, you'll know what you need to do when you're reading an article or when you're in a modality for medicine, when you're doing your workouts, and what your body needs when it needs it, and that you need to realign today because your muscles and your tissue are off and your posture's off. And if you go to that workout, you're going to grind your joints more. You just need to understand who you are and when you're off. Chaos breeds chaos, balance breeds peace. If you can learn to live a balanced life, you're still living life. You're still enjoying everything. You're just not in the chaotic pieces of it because you're not getting caught where you shouldn't be. Because as soon as you go where you shouldn't be, you're like a mess.
Exactly. Everything falls apart. Well, I don't understand. Why is this happening to me?
So it's not that you have to give anything up.
Right.
You just have to be present to know what's right for you in that moment.
You have, so I guess the word present, I'm trying to illustrate it because people have said, well, what does that mean? And I said, it's being me in a crowd. It doesn't mean I stand out or I'm different or I
Right.
hide. It means that I am part of this group. I am part, but I don't want to eat pizza, so I'm going to have chicken salad. But I'm still participating in having the dinner and sharing the time, but I am simply conscious enough of my needs and who I am and what I need to not let everybody else's supersede me. Would that kind of be another way to think about it?
I had another client that said something to me the other day about being present, and that they walked into a room and it was all business people and everything, and then there was one person who wasn't businesslike and was dressed weird and all that kind of stuff, so they immediately stayed away from them. And then they started mingling with all the business people, and they felt really alone in the room. And then the next thing you know, they're gravitating to another area, and that person's there, and they started a conversation. They had the best time ever.
Right.
Because immediately they're following the crowd. I should be with these people, not this one, because it's a business meeting. I have to do this. Or I just be me because I like everybody in the room and I'm just going to go see what's going on.
Figure out where you gravitate to.
But the first thing they did, and they were mad at themselves because they never thought of themselves as a prejudiced person. And that's why they brought it up. And they go, I really didn't think that person had anything to offer to me. And I was so mad at myself because I didn't give them the chance. And then when I did,
look at what you potentially could have missed.
And we all do those things without realizing it. Mm-hmm. But once you're present in the room, you don't see that they're different. You just see people. Mm-hmm. But when we're in a wave of situations, we're getting caught in
You're
that.
actually blinded.
Yes. And it could be driving in the car when your cell phone rings. I've got to get it. I've got to get it. It's the utmost important. I know the kids are in the back, but I got to get it. You know, you don't have to get it.
No, you don't.
But there's this feel that the energy out there is FOMO. You got this fear of missing out. So you want to see what it is, no matter what it is. So don't get caught in that. Just be you.
I like it.
That's the whole goal, is to just learn about your energy, because you'll feel it gravitating and you'll know to pull it back. You know it's not you anymore. Because once you know how you feel, there's a solidness about you that when it starts getting pulled, you don't feel right anymore. Like
And not to be afraid to pull back, or just simply admit to yourself, whoa, wait a minute. Let's look at that. Right. Let's pull back for a minute and let's decide if this is something I want to do.
Right.
All right. So again, another fabulous show. And if you have any questions, comments, want to share your story with us, give us your recap, you can reach us on body
within
community at Gmail.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you again.
All
Can't
right.
wait to do this. See you guys next time. Have a fabulous day and be present.